Welcome to Beer and Business. You found the best podcast for entrepreneurs. We serve crafty business knowledge, comedy, and yes, beer. And now it's time for our hosts. If he were to pat you on the back, you'd list it on your resume. It's Jake Mullins, and his beer never gets warm. It just sits there, staying frosty, waiting for him. Mr. John Winnie. And if you spell his name in Scrabble, you automatically win. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Darren Flanagan.
We are here. Welcome back, folks. Sorry we took a week off last week. I know you missed. Oh, did we take 2 weeks off?
Feels like it.
I don't know. I thought it was just last week, but maybe, I don't know.
Maybe.
I'm losing track of time. Folks, welcome back to the show. Today, we've got Dr. Phil.
Hey, guys.
In the studio.
Trying to make sure that I've shared you onto my page here
All
so
right, cool.
everybody can see us.
We're live. We're actually doing this live.
As
And
usual.
you know what? Before we get into Dr. Phil's, is it working?
It worked.
Oh, that's
I got
really
it.
cool. Hey, look
Celebrate.
at that.
I'm so
We're
used
live
to
everywhere.
not having somebody in the studio, and I keep wanting to look this
It's like,
way at the TV.
Wait, your guest is over here. Yeah. It's
So-
how long has it been since we had a guest in studio? It's been a while, hasn't it?
Forever.
Yeah, we've done everything remote recently. Not because we wanted to. It's just
Yeah, your
that's the
guests
way it's
come
worked
from
out.
all over. Time
Yeah.
differences,
I
country
know, I know.
differences.
They're actually interesting people that we interview. They
Yeah,
come
man.
from
Yeah.
around the world.
Can't
So no
win them all.
pressure, buddy.
So better bring your game today.
I got it.
All right, before we get into all the cool stuff we're going to talk to you about, Phil.
Fan favorite.
Oh my God, am I excited this week. I have my hands, if you can see on the camera here, I've waited a long time for this. Line Creek, the official beer, the Beer and Business podcast, collaborated with Jailhouse Brewing, the old official beer, the Beer and Business podcast, to brew one of my favorite beers of all times, Breakout Stout.
Yes.
Oh my God. This, first of all, I got to say, they nailed the artwork on this. This is a really cool can.
It's a throwback can, man, right there.
It is. And
Old school.
Jailhouse Brewing, they closed in 2019 and, sold off their assets. And they were a phenomenal partner of the show for a long time. They'd been in business for 10 years. And this beer was incredible. And so when I heard that Glenn and Chris had gotten together and they were going to make this, I got a little fluttery. Felt like a little schoolgirl.
Collab beer.
Warm inside.
Yeah, I got really warm inside. And let me tell you, it does not disappoint. Just look at that baby. It's just dark as night.
Chocolatey, little coffee. Chocolately coffee.
Cheers, boys. And what are you drinking?
Caffeinated.
Today we're drinking the Fest beer.
Yeah, man. It's that time of year.
that
I
time of
cannot
year.
believe Oktoberfest beers are on the shelf.
German
You and me
lager.
both.
I know.
Dude, you know what I saw last month, though? And I was
What's
like,
that?
I got to get a six-pack from Mr. Winnie, but I didn't.
Pumpkin beer?
Yeah. It was right there in the middle, and I'm like,
He would-
oh, John,
He would literally kick you in the jimmy.
I'm saving it. I'm going to give it to him for Christmas. But yeah, this is that German lager. We talked about this last year, and it's back again this year, and it's got the Lederhosen
The
on the
Lederhosen.
can, and it is
I like that one
spot on.
because a lot of Oktoberfest beers are really heavy. And this is a true Marzen. It's got that caramel color. It's a little rich, but it's not like, I'll pick on Sam Adams. Their Oktoberfest beer, if I drink one of those, it feels like I swallowed a basketball.
That's heavy. Yeah.
It's like, oh, el stomago. It's no bueno.
but this.
I don't know why I'm speaking Spanish about a German
I
beer,
don't know.
but whatever.
That's okay, though.
Well, make sure you go visit the brewery. I mean, it's phenomenal. And look at this. I'm behind. I had to
are.
bring up our banner
You
here.
could also
I-
buy it
now
in
I
your
have the
local
banner.
package stores and everywhere else.
I know. I had to bring our banner up. So if you want to join us at the brewery, we've been having this monthly event. Come out and meet us. Business networking. It's a lot of fun. Based on some feedback, we have adjusted the time.
Mm-hmm.
So the next one's going to be 5 to 7. Give you guys a little bit more time to get out there. And it seems like people want to stick around a little bit longer. So we have adjusted the time. It's at Line Creek in Peachtree City, Wednesday, October 13th. So go to beer.business to register for that if you want to come out and see us. And who knows, you could meet your next client, your
And
next
registering
employee.
is just for us to get a good head count so we can give it to them. But if you don't register, you can still
come.
show up.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever registered, and I think I've only missed one.
Thanks, Phil.
And
Yeah.
you know,
We really
the benefit, right, of 5 to 7 too is the food trucks all set up by the time we get there instead of
Yes.
we wait, and they have some pretty awesome food trucks that
This
show up.
last one.
Yeah.
That was great.
We've met some really cool people out there, so we'd love to see you. So come out, and if you can't come join us at the business networking event, go out to the brewery anytime, hang out. It's great, or buy some beer at your local bottle shop. If you do want to buy Breakout Stout, based on what I just talked to the guys today, don't wait. It's probably going to sell out. It's selling like hotcakes right now, like delicious, dark, rich hotcakes.
Chocolatey, earthy hotcakes.
We
All
ready
right.
to move forward?
We are. So, Phil, welcome to the show.
Thanks,
Wanted to
guys.
bring you on because, first of all, you're a friend of the show. You own a business, and we're going to get into some of that. And you have decided to run for city council in Peachtree City.
Yeah.
I think this is such an important topic. Have you guys noticed government's kind of messed up right now?
What do you mean?
It's
Kind of.
a little broken. It's not so good. We're in a really weird time, and we had Kim Leonard on the show a couple of months ago. She's running for mayor of the same area, and one of the things that we talked about with her is the fact that national politics are really messed up. I mean,
it's
really
all over
are.
the place.
Yeah, and there's some states that are.
yeah.
But it seems like the closer you get to the ground, the more competence you find.
The relationship is closer too. Like you're probably not going to call up your state senator and be like, "Hey, Joe, I wanna go have breakfast with you." he's probably going to go, "Yeah, okay, cool." If you even talk to him,
You'll talk
But-
to those people.
exactly right. His people will talk to
His
your
intern will
people,
come
and if
meet
you
you
have
and give
people,
you a coupon.
yeah,
to get
and
you.
and the closer you get to the local level, the more real it gets.
Mhm.
Like you could feasibly call up a city councilor and be like, "Hey, I'd like to have breakfast." Chances are they'd say yes. Well,
If they're
to
paying.
one of you. But
I mean, yeah, we all know which one. Yeah, sorry, Darren.
It's going to be like that.
It's
isn't
going to
it?
be
All
like
right.
that. Yes, it is.
They're coming out swinging, guys. But so based on that, where you said it gets real at the ground level, hypothetically, or what's your theory, is people move up, why do they seem to distance themselves? I mean, those are, if you go from local politics, and I know some people jump in at a higher level, but the folks who climb that ladder, why do they separate themselves?
So various issues come up with Peachtree City, right? And every time I try and find my point on that, I go, who do I represent? And it would be, I'd represent Peachtree City if elected. So if an issue is for the greater good of Coweta County or Fayette County or this area or whatever, that's not my job. I would represent just Peachtree City. So the further up you go, the more people you represent, the more voices you have to hear. And so you start delegating. It's like scaling a business. You are the solopreneur, or you and your spouse, and you're working in the business and you know the name of everybody. But now you have such a great product, you're giving it to so many different people. You can either not give it to that many people, or you can scale up and you lose some of the personability.
Bill Clinton gave it to a lot of people, though, still. He didn't seem to lose track of it. Oh, never mind.
I don't lose track of much
Well,
of anything,
so-
Darren, especially when there's interns in the room.
As we said, with politics like that, it's the higher up, the more. Where does it get convoluted then? Because you are listening to as you said, a greater population, more voices, but somehow those voices don't seem to be heard like they do on a smaller scale. So where's the disconnect?
My personal opinion,
Yeah.
funding.
Oh, hell yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking. It's
How
money.
do you get
Money moves
elected?
the-
Yeah, I mean, at this level, I can self-fund a campaign.
Mhm.
Like, no problem
Oh,
kind of
good.
deal.
Give me my check back.
Yeah, wait a minute.
Yeah,
just
I don't
ask
have
us
to
for
check with
money.
your name on it. But anyway.
That's when you
So you can
Get a lot.
self-fund at the lower level. You can talk to all the people at the lower level, but the higher up you get, the harder it is to reach everybody. And
Yeah.
so I think it starts with, well, if I could just get elected, then I can do the good.
Mhm.
And it's the first rationalization that happens.
The
I
problem,
don't know how to stop it.
I think the problem is the higher up in politics, the more there is at stake in terms of just pure personal finance. I mean, it's hard to tell where somebody's loyalties are and why they're making decisions. I mean, I'll give you guys a great example. And this is one that, of course, you start talking about national politics, it gets kind of electric. But I think this is something most people would agree on. What just happened in Afghanistan has everybody scratching their heads. Like if you look at the polls, nobody seems to agree with the way we exited the country. Let's put everything aside, all the should we have been there, should we have stayed, put all that stuff aside.
Right, how long, all
Right.
of that.
The way that we were exiting that country is bananas.
Well,
it is absolutely bananas.
They realized that Elon and Jeff really couldn't fly that many people out on their rocket ships, right?
Right.
Is that what-
But here, I'm going somewhere
Yeah,
with this.
yeah.
I promise I'm
I see
going
where
somewhere
you're
with this. It's absolutely crazy the way that it happened, and I can't make any sense of it. It's like, why would this happen? Now, it's not because Joe Biden's a bumbling idiot. There's too many people involved. There's, you got the brass at the Pentagon. There's so many people that were involved in these decisions, and you ask yourself why. No, it seems like nobody on the ground in our country. I mean, Taliban obviously is happy, but people in our country are not happy with how that was handled. And I sit here and I say, why? There's motivation somewhere, but I can't figure it out because I don't know the inner workings of all the.
There's a disconnect.
Totally.
Whether it's purely a lack of communication or you can't communicate. I mean, there are certain things you don't want to communicate. What did Glenn say this morning? You didn't have to build the stealth bomber. You just had to say you built it.
Right.
I mean, there are things that you do and don't communicate. And I hope that the reasoning is that we just can't be communicated the reasoning. That's what I hope.
Have you seen the Taliban parading around the entire country in our vehicles and using our weapons? I mean,
my mom has this phrase, and it drives me up the wall, that some people are doing the best they can with what they have. And my counter to that is maybe they shouldn't be doing what they're doing then.
My father uses that all the time. You do the best with what you got.
yeah. But that's an example where there's just a true disconnect between the people that are represented in the decision made by the government. And I honestly think that is maybe part of it is influence and corruption. Maybe part of it is they're so far disconnected from reality. They just don't understand. Maybe it's arrogance. There's a lot of things it could be, but
Hubris, yeah. I mean, I think if you have communication and transparency, you can be wrong, but you'll never be wrong in that instance.
right.
You shared it with everybody. So let's get back to the ground level here. You decided to go into politics.
I did.
Why?
Well, my wife 100% pushed me towards this. She thought this was a great idea.
Do you do
Not
everything
really.
your wife says?
No.
Okay.
Anyway,
You
no,
should.
I should. You're right.
Your
Yeah,
life would be so much
she's
easier.
probably listening to this right now going,
you
talk
should
to Phil
definitely.
about this later.
Oh, here
Oh, you
comes
know
the
what? Somebody
car.
just stopped watching. I think it was her.
So I was born in Peachtree City, one of I think the few people that can say I am a Peachtree City native, because most people move here
It's
at some
very
point.
transient.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I moved away for a bit. I came back. I got the high school experience of growing up here, the love of being able to jump on a golf cart, drive anywhere, the safety. Like when you're 15, 16 growing up, you don't go, oh, wow, this is really safe. This is cool. But looking back on it 15 years later, you're like, hey, man, I could raise kids there and not worry about it. Like they come back when the streetlights come on. Okay, that's fine. So when I met Jillian in grad school and everything, it was kind of early on in us dating. I'm like, hey, no pressure, but I'm going back to Peachtree City when I open my office. Hopefully you want to come with me kind of thing. And I explained why, and she's seen the town obviously before that. She just didn't take that much of a leap. And she likes it. We like it. The schools are good. The cart paths are awesome.
Yeah.
Like it's an awesome place.
Mhm.
And I want to be able to give that experience to our kids when we start having kids. And I want to be able to give that experience to families moving in that have kids or, plan to have kids, that like the bubble experience, basically.
Yeah. I
That's
mean,
what it is.
it's a great community.
Mhm.
So my whole point in bringing up the national politics thing is
Going
I was
back to
gonna
the upper
draw-
level.
No,
Just
no,
gotta
I was going to draw a
finish before
parallel
we
here.
can move forward.
No, I'm going to draw a parallel. Let me back up. I don't think anybody's happy with where national dialogue is in terms of politics. But the solutions are not going to come from on high. They're not going to come from Washington, D.C., probably not going to come from your state governors. A lot of what's really going to move the needle and change things for the good in this country is going to come from the ground. It's going to come from local politics. It's going to come from city council. It's going to come from mayors. It's going to come from school boards. It's not going to come from the Department of Education in Washington, D.C.
Well, if
That's
we
not where
all
the solutions are coming from.
just start eating ice cream and riding the bus, we'll be fine, won't we?
Sure, Darren. What are you drinking over there, buddy? I think we need to check his
Wasn't
alcohol
that a
We're
content.
drinking the same thing, but
Wasn't
it
that a
seems
Bernie
better than
Sanders
mine.
thing?
Oh, was it?
But yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Like everybody, mass transit. And of course, he was from Vermont.
ice
So
cream?
he's like, ice cream.
And what'd you say? Buses or something?
Yeah, mass transit.
But I mean, seriously, we need smart people like you running for
I'm
office.
smart?
Yeah, I wasn't looking at Darren.
Okay.
I was looking at you.
Just clarify.
Yeah, for those of you that are listening and not watching us live on Facebook or YouTube, I was not looking at Darren. No, but seriously, we need smart people like you running for office all across this country, because that's where things are really going to change at the ground level. And going back to what you were talking about initially, there's real accountability in having somebody local that you can talk to, because if you screw something up real bad, like if you made a big decision that affected people's safety and security, they'd figure out where you live and they'd be in your yard.
Oh, it's not hard to figure out where I live. When I qualified, my address got printed for everybody. But again,
Or where you work.
transparency and communication.
That's how it should
I'm not
be.
trying to hide it. My place of business is very easy to find. I work in the town. We talk about Peachtree City has a village concept. Well, I live, I work, I bank, and if this is considered play, then I also play all within the Aberdeen village.
Yeah.
Like, I'm ingrained in the community.
You would be able to see your senator's house, but it's probably blocked by the moat, the giant concrete wall, all the
Yeah.
shrubs, and the 500
I'm like
security
6
people.
months out on the moat at this point, so I'm way behind the 8 ball. I do have the wall up, though.
Oh, good, yeah. Walls don't work unless you're. Well, I mean, they work if you're a senator or ex-president.
Well, like you're saying, your face is out there, though. And so if
Yeah.
you make a decision,
better or
people don't
worse.
like it, you're standing in line at the bank, or you're just waiting, trying to eat dinner with your wife, and
Yep.
somebody comes up to you and they're like, hey, Phil, you know that decision and how you voted on this?
You screwed up.
Yeah. And now the accountability is face to face with people.
This is so important right now because we've talked about this a few times over the past year or so, but ever since the pandemic started, we've had small business across the country, or really around the world, just struggling. But in this, I'll focus on our country, really struggling on the ropes. And this past year and a half, probably there's never been a more important time for local government as it relates to small business.
Right.
And there's been a lot of businesses that have been put out of business, no fault of their own, just because they weren't allowed to open, they weren't allowed to do X, Y, Z.
They weren't considered essential.
Right.
But to every small business owner, their business is essential. It's their livelihood.
Keeps the
Right.
lights on.
How do you say that that's not essential? That's
The thing that I really, really struggled with over the past year and a half is for the areas that were, doing the lockdowns. So if you owned a bicycle shop, your local business, and you own a bicycle shop, in so many states and municipalities, you weren't allowed to open.
you were considered non-essential.
You were considered non-essential, but you could go buy a bike at Walmart. So what makes buying a bike at Walmart safer than buying a bike at your local bike shop? I'm asking you that question.
So obviously,
Not to put you on the spot.
no, that's okay.
No, but seriously, I'm asking it in jest.
Makes sense. So one of the things I'm trying to figure out for a platform point, because it's great to say things and have a wish list, but actually getting action steps is a whole nother thing entirely. And I want to find a way to be able to elevate or help promote the local businesses. So if it's a choice between going to your coffee chain or going to Bloom or Rooted Cafe that just opened up over here, I want, if all things are considered equal, Rooted and Bloom to have a better opportunity. Now, whether that's, your tax to the town is discounted, even if it's a small amount, showing that the local government is helping the local businesses, I would like to see. Because those local businesses, they don't have a team of legal, They don't have a team of, graphic designers, expertise, anything like that to push through their reasoning. And if you tell the
And
local
not only
shop,
that, but they're taking a bigger risk.
if you tell the local shop to close, you're going to get the fighting resistance of that shop. You
Mhm.
tell something big to close, you're going to get everything.
Yeah.
So it's a risk. Do you fight the big thing? Do you fight the small thing? And unfortunately, the little guy doesn't win in a lot of cases.
Mm-hmm.
Little side
And-
note about Rooted Cafe. You know whose coffee they're serving in there?
Is that? I know
Leaf
it.
Albers.
Yeah, Leaf
Yeah.
Albers.
Man, I couldn't think of it. But
Yellow
yes,
Band.
they were behind us in the parade.
I don't.
We got free coffee that morning.
That's
which we needed.
delicious
Yeah.
coffee.
It's awesome.
Big shout out to
Well,
Yellow
that-
Band Coffee. They were on the show, months ago.
Mhm.
Delicious.
Good. But that's, what you're saying makes sense. And as you said, how do you fit that into your platform, and then how do you make that happen going forward?
Yeah, it's easy to fit it in the platform. I want to do this now with my platform because
Right.
your platform is essentially a wish list.
Mm-hmm.
But is there a way to actually accomplish that? And you could rewrite the procedure to try and make, okay, if it's a local business, we assign them a representative and they work through it with them. If it's a corporate chain, then they figure it out on their own.
Mm-hmm.
There are things that you could do, but feasible legal things that you can do, I'm not sure what they are. And unfortunately, I think that's one of the things that you can't figure out until you're there. Like it's on the job training experience
Right.
kind of thing. But that is a goal. It's not difficult for me to think like a local business owner because I am a local business owner. And then I get the wife of the local business owner who's also a local business owner, Jillian, telling me her perspective on it too. So I get a couple of
There's a
perspectives.
lot of local
Well,
business
I'll
owners.
I know.
It is in one spot. And then
You
my
happen to be
dad,
a
my
local business
brother,
owner.
So
I'm a
you-
local
you're a
business
local
owner.
business
Oh my gosh.
and like
business
the,
owner, but
the
I'm
20 other people we meet with in the mornings on Tuesday.
Yeah, no.
Who's on
So
first?
I will tell you, I don't have the pressure or the worry of having a platform for running for local office. But I will tell you something from a simple knucklehead's point of view that happens to own a small business.
Why'd you look at me when you said knucklehead?
It was just
You
it was
said-
a pure
The cameras are-
reaction.
he was
Yeah,
looking
I
at
was
the
looking at the
camera.
camera.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
thank you
So-
very much, Phil.
Yeah,
Appreciate
I got
that.
you. Yeah.
So Pavlov's, he knows. He's been trained.
It's funny. It happens when I say something like that. I just look at Darren. I don't know. But I will tell you that you hit a time like the pandemic, and I don't expect government to take care of me, but I do expect government to, number one, not stand in my way unnecessarily, and two, to give me a level playing field.
Yeah.
Because going back to the example of the bike shop in Walmart, that's not fair. That's not a level playing field. I'm okay with dealing with challenges. I'm okay with understanding that, shit happens. I mean,
Yeah.
Natural disasters put, businesses under every year, and it's sad and it's tragic. Unexpected deaths do. There's all kinds of things that are really sad and unfortunate, and you can't plan for every eventuality, and you can't expect, at least for me, I don't expect a government to take up the rally of taking care of me when something like that happens. But I do expect to be playing from the same sheet of music from the big guys.
Right.
And if I can't do that, man, that to me is like the cardinal sin when it comes to supporting local business.
You can't prevent life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's a big thing when you get into property law and whatnot. So I can't tell you that you can't develop your property for X purpose if that's what it's zoned for.
Mhm.
You win in that lawsuit because you're not supposed to do that. And then
Unless you live in Houston, where you see strip clubs next to daycares every day because there's no zoning.
Well, I
Fun
mean,
fact.
at least they don't have to drive far to
I
drop
used to
their
have to
kids
deal
off.
with that all the time.
Mm.
Oh, very true, Darren.
Oh,
We used to joke
jeez.
about that all the time. I kid you not. If you don't know this, there literally is no zoning in Houston. So you can pretty much put any business
That's
next
the
to
reason
whatever.
half of it was underwater a few years ago.
Yeah,
Remember?
it's crazy.
Just sunk.
if I had to sum up the job of local government, okay, well,
Mhm.
probably the most complained thing would be if the grass isn't getting cut. That's not what I think local government's job is. I think local government's job is to defend the people that they represent from higher government trickle-down effect, because you can't tailor something to the community if you look over 50, 100, 1,000, the entire country's worth of communities.
Mhm.
But as your local government that looks over one community, you can absolutely do that.
How do you think you're going to be able to help do that?
Oof. So the example that I constantly give with this one is when the pandemic hit, we talked about small businesses closing. Well, one of those big things was gyms. A lot of gyms are small businesses.
Sure.
But it didn't matter what your gym was when you closed, whether you had 40 people in a small room doing a class, whether you had 4 people in a very large room picking up heavy things and putting them back down again, or you had something in between. Arbitrarily, every single gym closed. What I would have liked to see, and what I think we're starting to see now, so I'm happy with it, is the the differentiation between, okay, look, you're limited to this many people for this square feet, or these are the protocols you have to go through. Give some extra guidelines, as we're calling them, on how to stay open. And if your natural order of business fits those guidelines, why should you have to close? It's your livelihood. It didn't make sense to me.
I'm down with that. I think the one thing that I worry about, and I've given this example before, when Los Angeles finally got to where they were going to allow restaurants to reopen, which really wasn't that long ago. It was like 6 months ago, something like that. When they did, they had an enormous amount of requirements for restaurants. That certain things that they had to do to be open. And they were very, very onerous. So they had to keep all these logs of their employees and their temperatures and, this and that. And it was a lot of operational rigor, kind of top-heavy operational things required to open a restaurant. And it's like the one thing that I do worry about with government, even local government, is that people will get into these positions and they'll start making decisions never having done the job of owning a business or thinking about how to put these things into practice. So like your example on the gyms, I think it's great as long as it doesn't go so far into where somebody's like, how the hell are we gonna do this?
You need a full blood panel for every single individual walking into your gym 3 times a day in order to
Yeah, it's crazy.
Restrictive guidelines are not where you want to go with that. And one way around it is you create a citizen committee. You take 10, 15, 20 local business owners in your area. You create a committee. You put 2 city council, 1 mayor, city manager, someone in there with them. And you say, we would like to come up with what we feel like are acceptable, reasonable guidelines for opening up businesses. Let's talk it out.
Sure.
And then you get citizen input.
I think that's absolutely fair and 100% the way to go about it if the need is there for government to step in, because
But it's not perfect.
it's not perfect, but it's
that's
better
what
than
it's
most of what we
solution.
see,
Yeah.
right? I mean, we see all these things.
And it's a working construct there. You're not just, okay, this is it. We have said it, do it or else. You go back, you think tank it, you figure out what to do with it.
It's some of these government programs. I'm going to pick on one, and it's from a long time ago, so it shouldn't piss anybody off. So do you guys remember Cash for Clunkers?
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you don't remember this, or maybe you were too young at the time, after the 2008 recession, the government started doing, the federal government started doing all these things to stimulate the economy. And if you're not watching, I'm doing some huge air quotes here. Okay. One of the programs they put in place was Cash for Clunkers. And essentially what they were doing is they were paying people to take their car off the road. So they were paying them to get rid of their old car so they buy a new one and stimulate the auto industry. And they thought it was going to be good for mileage and emissions and all this kind of stuff. Well, it turned out it was such an expensive program because to administer it, they're like, some politicians got in a room like, I got an idea. Let's pay some money for every car that comes in with these requirements. And then, we'll have cars off the road and blah, blah, blah. And we'll help the auto industry. And yeah, that's a great idea. Go do it. Well, let's make it happen. What they didn't realize is that to actually do it, it was like, oh my God, we're going to have to build all these software programs and compliance and all this. And it cost an enormous amount of money. And the very long story short, the punchline was for every car that Cash for Clunkers helped the auto industry sell, it cost them $2 million. $2 million per car, and had zero impact. Actually had a negative impact on emissions because people were like trading up to bigger cars.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah, they were Oh, I can buy my truck now.
Oh, I can get my
Big truck
SUV
for
that
my
I
truck.
wanted because I got 10 grand from Uncle Sam.
I know.
Who were they using? The same people that were back the Ford Pinto with that whole deal?
Oh, yeah.
Is that what
You
it
might
was?
have been the
Pretty
same
much
people.
same group of people.
I'm going to call it a Coke, please.
Oh gosh.
But seriously, that's an
Yeah.
example. How many auto execs were in the room when they were coming up with that?
What's your
I'm pretty
feedback
sure it was
loop on
zero.
that? Because someone realized pretty early on. I hope someone realized early on that there was going to be roadblocks with that, and throwing money at a problem only works until you run out of money. And as a local business owner,
But Phil, you never run out of other people's money.
yeah. Moving on.
No, because I was. Yeah, exactly.
You can. It's a bottomless pit. You can just keep going for more.
I just
All
tax
right.
them a little bit more.
Back in the real world, as a local business owner, when you do run out of other people's money,
Yes, you will eventually.
you come up with creative workarounds or a feedback loop. So we had intake paperwork for the new office, and we made it, and it was great. And then the third person came in with the new intake paperwork, and they're like, hey, I tried to type in my address, and it doesn't recognize it, so I can't go any further. Because we had something that auto tried to find their address. They could find it. It wouldn't let them type it in. It wouldn't let them fill out the intake paperwork. So we're getting all these people that aren't filling out the intake paperwork. And so we had two options: leave it as it is or change it based on feedback. So obviously we changed it based on the feedback because it was more efficient and saved us time in the office. But if you don't have that feedback loop, how do you
It's
do that?
so important, dude. I just worked on something for the real estate business, and not to bore anybody with it, but it's a project I've been working on. It
But you
gets
will.
integrated in our CRM. I'm not going into the details, but the thing is, I'd worked on this thing for like a week and a half, 2 weeks. I showed it to my wife. She's like, "It's too long." Fuck, man, seriously. So then I showed it to somebody else on the team. They're like, "It's too long." Son of a bitch, man. I thought it was good, but they were both right. And I was too close to it because I had done all the work. I needed that feedback. That's why I was asking them.
Start to see the big picture when you're here.
Absolutely, man.
Sorry, my hand is right in front of my face.
You'll see.
But that was an example. I don't care what it is. Like I thought it was. I put a lot of work into it. I figured I had it all done. And you know what?
Yeah.
I went back and shortened it, and guess what, guys? It was a lot better.
I mean, the whole "it takes a village" thing isn't
It
a
did.
joke. It does. You need multiple perspectives, and then you can still be wrong, and that's okay.
Yeah,
That's the thing. You can make mistakes. It's what you do with the mistakes.
that drives me nuts with government.
How do
You know,
nudge them and correct them? Yeah, or
drives
flat
me
out
nuts.
kill the program and start over.
If something's bad, call it bad. That's fine. Don't limp something across the finish line.
like
for-
COVID response.
Just don't limp something across the finish line for
it
your
looks
ego.
like shit and smells like shit. Yeah, probably is. So
It's not a rose.
two questions that I do have. One, when your wife brought it up about you going into politics, why did she suggest that for you?
All right. So originally she was totally against it. I will be perfectly honest.
Oh.
Because she didn't want it to change our day to day a whole lot. She goes, "Does this mean I can't go grocery shopping anymore?" I said, "I don't know. I'm new to this."
Depends on how good I am.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Right. It all depends on me. So that's great.
Honey, I'm city council.
But-
We'll have somebody getting our groceries for us.
Yeah. That's a couple.
Steps up
yeah,
the
that's a couple
ladder.
steps
Okay.
up the ladder. Yeah. No, I still get my own groceries. That's awful.
When you make senator, you don't even know what a grocery store is.
Yeah.
Food just magically appears.
But
It comes from the staff.
like most things, if we don't have the same opinion on it at the start, we start talking about it. It's the only way to fix it. So we really like this town. We bought a house. We're spending a bunch of money, time, and effort renovating this thing. We're not tearing it down and building a new one. We don't want a new house. We want the 1970s Atomic Ranch, but we want it updated a little bit. So we're doing that. We don't want to leave. And when I said that, what happens if the direction of this town goes a direction that we don't like, and we sit here and we watch it? We make this a spectator sport. Then what do? We just complain in front of the TV to each other, and then we leave eventually? Or do we try and change it? And you know what? It might still go that way, but then we leave with no regrets. We tried to make this better. And better is relative, but better is still an attempt.
Hell yeah.
So that's what it was. And she kind of did the thing where it's like, you're right, and I don't want you to be right, but I'm going to tell you you're right, and let's go. And she has been beyond supportive ever since.
Well, the other thing could have been you could have just voted for the right city council people and the mayor who can keep things the way you like them too, and then you didn't have to step into this.
Yeah,
arena.
at the point in time that I decided, there wasn't a lot of other people running. In fact, I wasn't positive there was another person running.
Yeah.
And I want someone that's invested,
Sure.
preferably with no agenda. But, I'll take someone that's invested with an agenda that aligns with me. But, I mean, who doesn't have an agenda at this
Well,
point?
Darren's actually bringing up a really good point. I know.
Just
Do we
I'm
need to
more,
take a moment
I'm more
of silence?
excited than I'm more excited than anybody. It's like he's growing up. Our little Darren's growing up. But
don't worry, I'll fall flat on my face in just a few minutes.
I'm expecting it.
Part of learning.
But no, seriously, part of getting involved at the local level is not just about running for office, which I want to get to in a minute, but it's also just understanding it's harder to figure out who's running at the local level and what they stand for and why you should vote for them. It takes more work, folks. You gotta do a little research. Do it. It's your community. Like if you don't know who's on your school board, shame on you. You should know. I mean,
if you
seriously.
don't know that your school board is districted and you only get one say, well, two if you have an at-large, you should figure it out. Because one day you're going to show up and you're going to be unhappy with something there, and you're going to walk out of there going, I'm going to get someone to run for every single one of those positions. But you need to know where they live and how that works.
Yeah, for sure. So when it comes to running for office, one of the big things I want to talk about today, what does a process look like? Because
you make it up as you go along.
Well, yeah, I'm sure, just like everything, being an entrepreneur.
Right.
But I'm sure there's a lot of people that have had same thoughts, like, I want to do something. Like, I'm tired of this, whether it's school board, city council, mayor, fill in the blank, whatever
How do
it
you
is.
take the first step?
How do you take the first step? What's the process look like?
Yeah.
How's it been for you?
So about a year ago now, September of last year-ish, I kind of started thinking about it. It's like, what would that look like? How many hours a week is that? That's the first question. I mean, I run a business.
Right.
Like
It's only so much time in a day.
exactly. 28 hours, right?
Yeah. If you're
25, 28, depends.
In a day.
32 sometimes.
if you're Barack Obama, 57.
Parkinson's
Whatever,
law.
7
Whatever it
states.
is. So you look at, is this something that I can feasibly do? Me personally, I don't want to be bad at something. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And Jillian honestly hates this. If I commit to something, I'm going to see the thing through. Even if I got conned into it, I need to start saying no a little bit more. But
Oh, I totally understand.
yeah. So figuring out, like, what does this look like? How many hours a week is this? So I talked to a couple people. They're like 10 to 15, right? Which is a part-time job.
Sure.
So it's like, okay, I could do that. It's not 10 to 15, 9 to 5 type thing. It's 10 to 15 when you fit it in. And then it's
10 to 50, 90 max. Don't worry
right,
about
10 to 50. I said 15. I said 15 for the record here.
it. No big deal.
And then the next step is, like, what do I need to know? So when I started this, I had like 3 main ideas of what I wanted to do. And that was like 2% of everything that's going on right now. So to me, the next step was educate yourself. So you start showing up to the meetings, you start reading old minutes, you start figuring out why this decision led to this decision. And eventually you have to talk to somebody. You have to go, what does all this mean? And so I was talking to the person that kind of got me into this, and she's like, oh, hey, let me introduce you to this person and this person. And then from there, it turned into, I know a lot of people that are in government or used to be in government or work adjacent to government.
And you had no idea, right?
Right. And it's like,
Wait a minute. You used to be on council, huh?
you worked on 8 senatorial campaigns? I've known you for 4. Hey, cool. Hey, so about this, and we're trying to figure out, like,
People don't want to let go of their dark secrets.
right,
I used to.
the skeletons. But I mean,
I used to be in government.
as a chiropractor, I look for the skeleton, right? So, anyway, terrible joke. I'm sorry.
Hang on, we got something for you.
So
Sorry, Phil.
So it's the education aspect of it. And there were a couple of platform points that I came up with that I'm like, this is how I feel about this. And then I kept getting educated, and I learned that there is more to it. There's a lot more to a lot of these topics. Simple things like, why is there a stop sign here? Is probably thousands of words of minutes that you finally realize that's why there's a stop sign here. And And I've changed a couple of my platform points. I've realized that I didn't have the full picture.
Oh! Thank Jesus.
Is there an applause over there?
Yes, there is.
There we go.
Seriously, that how many times have you wanted to hear a Washington D.C.
Whoa, wait, hey, I haven't been
politician say
elected
that?
yet.
No, but I know.
So
I know.
I'm just a candidate at this point.
Just a candidate. What? You're getting elected. We're
Well,
going
at
to get you
least some-
elected. Come on. You're on the
So-
Beer and Business podcast. How could you not get elected?
Exactly.
We'll
Right.
give you another chiropractic kind of on the fringe thing. So as he was saying,
Oh, Jesus criminy.
I know, it's more.
So,
I was
that
trying to
hurt.
massage your ego.
Please stop.
No.
Yeah, there's no more, Darren. Holy Jesus.
So that
But-
was like educating,
Yeah.
figuring it out, and then talking to people. Okay, I have really good ideas. How do I convey those? Do you think they're good ideas? If I can't convey them, they're bad ideas. It doesn't matter how good they are if I can't convey it. So I have an unpopular opinion on a couple of different topics. And I started telling different people the unpopular opinion. And they're like, no, that's not going to work. I'm like, well, what if we consider it like this? What if we look back at the minutes? What if we look back and figure out exactly why this change came about? Maybe there's another side to it. So you go from educating yourself to trying to educate other people. And if there's a second job of local government, it's educating the people that you represent. Don't go with the popular opinion. Don't be a mindless crusader because it's what will get you the vote. If there's something that is truly best, if people understood it, tell them what that is and explain it. Take the time. A lot of what I do in the chiropractic office is education. It's, this hurts. Okay, we'll fix it. Well, yeah, it hurts down here, but the problem is up here. And you have to understand the connection to understand why I'm not fixing it where it hurts.
It's like Darren's back hurts all the time. It's because he drinks so much bourbon, he falls down the stairs leaving Launch and Go. And we need to teach him that that's bad.
I know I could take the elevator.
Launch and Go has an elevator?
He can fall, yes. He can fall into the
It does,
elevator
you do.
and not fall down the
Right over
stairs.
there.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Things you learn.
Well, you sat through, I mean, there were a lot of things. You have sat through a bunch of meetings and not just directly who you, I mean, it's like we'd be talking, you go, well, tonight and this week I'm going to go sit at the airport authority meeting and I'm going over to this meeting. You wanted to learn as much as you possibly can about it. And then a lot of folks don't go in that way. Like you said, they've got their personal crusade and they're just going to go straight ahead. And I'm going to run and I'm going to say these things and then they get in
There's
there.
nothing wrong with that. Like if you care about something enough
Sure.
to make you run, personally, I feel like you're already a step above because you're putting yourself out there and you're taking the
100%.
risk.
Yeah.
Now there's a lot of people that start it with, hey, I want this problem fixed. And then they realize everything that's going on and they take that sense of I want to help and they expand on it.
Well, I'll rewind this even a little bit further. I have a feeling a lot of people that are listening or watching, hey guys, I have a feeling that a lot of people may not even know how their local government works. It might be in something that's a municipality or a
process.
city or county, and they're not sure if their school board is represented based on district or whatever. So part of the process, I think, for a lot of people is just figuring out, like, what does my local government look like?
Yeah.
And if somebody has those type of questions, what are some of the resources you found that worked well for you?
I mean, show up to a meeting, find someone that knows more than you, ask them. And that could be your city councilor. I have sat down with a couple of them at this point. I go, hey, what's the deal with this thing? And they go, oh, and they explain it. Believe it or not, the people that are in these positions most of the time want to tell other people what they're dealing with day to day. And they want to talk about it. They want to get the opinion. They want to know that someone cares. Because I will be honest with you, there have been several meetings I've shown up to, budget workshop, okay? Peachtree City has a $42 million budget, okay? Other than council, mayor, staff, and 3 other people, I was the only other one in the room for most of those. You think that you want to know where your tax dollars go? I mean, they go to that. Yes, you can watch it on Zoom or whatever they stream it with. Well, periodically I'd pull it up, 4 or 5 people are watching it. Yeah, sure, you can watch it weeks later. Well, I watched that thing right before it completely dismissed, 138 views, which in a population of 38,250 people, that's a pretty small percentage.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to figure out what's going on, ask somebody. I guarantee you they're going to tell you. and say, hey, I'm thinking about getting involved. What's my next step?
I think it's super simple but brilliant, because here's the thing that I've learned about people that do exactly what you're talking about doing, right? Running for local office, you care enough, whatever. Those type of people genuinely really enjoy helping other people out and want to pass the torch, want to pass on knowledge, because they were where you were at one point.
Right.
You know, what's the payoff for running for council? How many millions of dollars do you get paid to be on the city council for Peachtree City?
Hold on. Millions of dollars. I can't make a number that small. I get $14,400 for the year.
Oh,
if I
barely covers
get
your expenses.
elected.
If you get elected.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
That's what the salary is. So if you're doing this for the money, you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
So, facetious comment, obviously. People aren't getting into this for the money. They're getting into it because they care about their community. They want to make a difference. And they don't want to do it forever because they only get $14,000 a year for it. And it's taxing. It's going to be a lot of work for you.
Right.
You get the
But you're
best
gonna make a
seats in the
difference.
restaurants, though.
One of the cool things Peachtree City has is it has term limits. You cannot serve more than 2 terms on council or mayor.
So,
And there are other municipalities adjacent to us even that have no term limits and
Right.
have had the same person in the
Good
same
old
position
boys.
Oh, wow.
for 2 almost 3 decades. And that's
Wow.
generations.
that you were talking about being too close to something that you do. I
Mhm.
think that's a perfect example
Oh,
of
hell
it.
yeah.
You might be too close to it at that point.
Yeah.
But I think the reason more people don't get involved is because you have to ask for help. You want to do something, and most of the time, the people that want to help aren't good at asking for help.
And I'm glad you said that. So I'm gonna piggyback on this even further. So if you live in one of those areas where you've got, county commissioners, let's say, with no term limits, and there's a good old boy network, and there's people that have, been a part of the county for years, and it's generational wealth and all that kind of stuff, I guarantee you're going to find somebody that wants to help you get elected because they're tired of the BS. They're tired of the good old boy stuff, and they want fresh blood. So I think in any situation, you're going to find people that want to help you understand what your local government looks like. But you're right; it starts with showing up at meetings. If you want to go for school board, go to the school board meetings. It's posted somewhere. Google or DuckDuckGo. Those
Trash
are your friends.
commissioner,
Just search
all
for
those,
it. You'll
yeah.
find it.
If you can't find out when a meeting is, someone that you see every single day can. I guarantee you it. There's no reason not to find it. And watch it online. We are in 2021. You want to watch it online? Watch it online.
You're watching
And
Beer and
then-
Business right now, folks.
Hopefully online, is there? Yeah. Doesn't look like anyone's watching us in here.
Not in here. It's in the cyber webs.
Oh, that one. Yeah,
the
gotcha.
technology.
So-
Interwebs, they're out there.
The interwebbies.
So watch online,
Any comments?
figure out how things work.
Yeah.
And if there's something that comes up that you think you want to talk about, show up to the next meeting, give a public comment. You get time to talk about whatever you want. It could be something completely unrelated, but if it's important to you, you should show up and talk about it.
And by the way, on that note, if you're watching right now, you can submit a question live, and if it's appropriate, we'll ask Dr. Phil here. And if you're listening and you have not watched us live yet, you should follow us on Facebook so you
Should.
can see when we're broadcasting, because you could actually be a part of the conversation, and you could ask better questions than Darren just by asking a question.
It's really not fair
That is
to make that comparison
Yeah,
when you set the bar so low.
I know. I'm sorry, guys.
it could be anything. All they'd have to do is check a box.
Yeah.
That's
Are
it.
you
So,
alive? Oh, that's a
Now,
really good question.
Are you not a robot?
there you go. Your city council. We've heard, I think, the job of city council is to support the mayor. Kind of.
Sort of. So the way
So what these, honestly, in your mind, what, as city council, do you directly get to make change, or are you just there to help make change?
which question do you want me to answer first?
You choose.
Okay. So the way I liken it is I sit on a nonprofit board and you have your chairman of the board. And
Right.
the chairman of the board is the one that conducts the meeting. And they have a couple more powers, like they go through the specific things with taxes and stuff like that. And our chairman is actually an accountant. So that's great because I don't want to deal with taxes. So the
None
other
of us
members of the board they vote. They have their different specialties, their different expertise. They're essentially a vote in there, and they get the same vote as the chairman. And we hire one person for this nonprofit. We hire the executive director. Well, you compare it to the city, there's 4 council and 1 mayor. The mayor runs the meeting. They're essentially the chairman of the board. There's 5 votes. You need 3 votes to pass anything. The mayor's vote doesn't count for 2. The mayor doesn't break it in a tie. It's not like a committee at the state level.
It's a true majority vote.
Right. And there are some differences with it. Like the mayor, there's certain different emergency protocols that the mayor gets absolute right in, because you don't need to wait for 2 other people to answer the phone and say, yeah, there's a fire, we should really put that thing out. No, there are certain things that time is of the essence. You just make the decision on.
The commander-in-chief of the Peachtree City Army.
Exactly. So you move further on that and you hire 3 people. So city council and mayor hire the city manager, which is essentially the CEO of the city. You hire the city attorney and you hire the city clerk. Other than that, every single other person is hired by not you. And that's it. You are the same decision-making power as the mayor, as the person sitting next to you. You are one of 5 votes. It takes 3 to carry. And I will say more often than not, a lot of the votes carry 5-0. Because something's a good decision, we go for it. Whether 5-0 or 0-5. Like it's either all yes or all no. Every now and then, someone will abstain because they're either too close to it, they weren't here for something, whatever. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you get something that's a polarizing topic and you get it split.
I think that's a good comparison, comparing it to a board, because it's really the same.
It's
probably the same in terms
medium
of
business with 300 some odd employees and a $42 million budget.
And it's probably the same in terms of time commitment, too, for being on a board, if you've ever served on an actual board for a company of that size.
Mm. Yeah. My board's budget is like 1.1 million, so I can't really compare.
Yeah. So, what are some of the things you've learned along the way? I mean, you've been campaigning now, and as you've gotten into it, like, what's worked well for you?
Officially hasn't started campaigning till official was when you had to make an official decision. Like you were able to try it on for size. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
okay. So you submit your declaration of intent that can be submitted at January 1 of the year that your election is. Mm-hmm. And then you submit something that says you're not going over X amount of money, and then there's all these financial disclosures. But then you hit qualifying. And qualifying is a week-long process where you basically go in and say, under an affidavit, that I swear that I've done nothing illegal and I'm not a drug dealer or crime lord or something like that.
I'm out.
And I don't owe back taxes, and I've actually lived here, and this is my actual name. Which sounds very official. It was pretty chill, actually. It was kind of fun.
It depends on the person on how much stress is in that process.
I guess if you've done any of those things, it wouldn't be a chill experience. But
cut down the weed farm.
So you get in the qualifying, you qualify, and then there's no turning back. It doesn't matter what you decide, unless like there's some serious charges against you. Your name's on the ballot, so you're moving forward. So August 20th, qualifying ended at 4:30 or something like that. So I officially am on the ballot as of August 20th of this year, but I started campaigning 4th of July. Mm-hmm. I gathered a bunch of information. I talked to people. I kind of figured out where I was going with this. And then it's like, all right, when do I announce? It's like, do I just like drop a flyer and say, hey, I'm doing it today. Thanks. And tell nobody? Or do I do it at a giant event like the 4th of July parade here? I mean, I made a giant float, and 2 days before that, a couple of my signs went out. A day before that, my website, my Facebook page goes up. And then all of a sudden, I'm walking through the parade, and people are like, who's Phil Crane? And I'm over there like, I'm Phil Crane. Every single time. And it's you get your name out there. So 4th of July was when I would say I officially started campaigning. My declaration of intent was in March. I didn't put it in January because I'm like.
Could you start campaigning as early as January if you wanted to?
If you put your declaration of intent in, but you can't accept or spend funds until your declaration is in.
Right, yeah.
So,
and that could be different, like state to state, municipality to
Yeah,
municipality.
I am purely talking Georgia here. If you're outside of Georgia and you do what I say, it may or may not be correct, and I am not liable for that.
Yeah, please look into whatever you're running for,
right?
please.
Or call your local ethics board. Like, I think ours is ethics.ga.gov. And the person who was previously there until last week, Holly Smith, was fantastic at answering all the questions. So find your Holly Smith, not the week of qualifying, and ask your questions.
Yeah.
they want to tell you the information that you need. No one's trying to hide this.
Right.
It is a complicated navigation to get through this whole thing. Like, ask the questions. Someone will answer you.
Wouldn't it be fair to say, too, that a lot of local governments want you to run? They're looking for people because these are sometimes hard positions to fill, especially with talented people.
Or you run unopposed, which if you're a good person, great. If you're someone that is running because no one else is running, I'm not positive that you're the right person for the job.
You're the only person, which may not be a good thing. I think that's what happened to Biden. Anyways, right now there's Democrats everywhere going, yeah, I know.
Hey, this is nonpartisan, by the way. So
yes,
It is.
everything in Peachtree City, all government's nonpartisan, right?
yeah, all local is once you get to county commissioner, you do declare your party. But honestly, the biggest difference for partisan and nonpartisan is whether or not you have a primary. Because I guarantee you that every single other person running votes for their party at this point. And there's nothing wrong with that. It means that you have an opinion and you care enough to go out and try and tell the world what your opinion is. It's how the Democratic Republic works.
Sure.
If only one person runs, the Democratic Republic doesn't work. If 2 people run, it works. If 5 people run, it works better. So the more people that run, the more accurate your representation is.
Yeah.
So are you allowed to like go by certain higher populated areas with the bus and make sure you help them get to the polls?
No. What I can do
That's only if you're in Detroit.
is drive by certain areas. Like, I don't know, most of the villages at 19 miles an hour with a flag behind that says Phil Crane PTC Council. But that's about all I can do. Sorry. No bus. Actually, I could put it behind the bus. I just can't pick people up on the bus.
Right.
Well, so I guess we're going to have to call Acorn back and tell them that we're not buying votes for Phil.
So you've got
Oopsie,
in your
sorry,
agenda, you know, if and when you get elected, what's your biggest thing that you want to change? Like on your platform, if let's put it this way, if there's one thing that you can change during your term, your first term, what's it going to be?
Man, I am struggling right now with how inappropriate is it to make a joke on this.
Well, in our opinion, it's not inappropriate at all.
Right, yeah, but then we get into clear communication and transparency, and it's like maybe we don't send mixed signals. So
Don't do that.
completely against my nature, I will not make the joke and say public safety.
Public safety.
Because it fuels so much of what you think of as Peachtree City amenities. So an example, as of 4 days ago, Peachtree City Police Department was down 8 officers. Not for lack of trying. 2 meetings ago, I think it was the August 13th meeting, one of the officers, Myers, gave a presentation of what they've done with every single applicant that they got. 5 of them were out from a background check. 3 of them never responded. 2 of them didn't show up to the interview. 3 of them were good, but one of them decided to take a job somewhere else. Like, they break it down, and out of like 35 applications, they have 2 people that they're hiring. And I think they have since hired those specific 2 people. So that's great that they're looking at it at so much detail to figure out where the fall off is.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't want to hire any officer. We want to hire quality officers.
We do.
Because we have a quality town. And so public safety is, I think, where the linchpin is. The golf cart paths in town, those don't work.
I'm going to keep this safe.
Okay, thank you.
I'm rocking a breakout stout lake, baby.
Thank you. The golf cart paths don't work the moment we get crime. If you're starting to get mugged on the paths, guess what you're not going to do? Go on the paths.
Mhm.
So the paths are Peachtree City's #1 amenity, which goes by the wayside if public safety isn't upheld. And there's 2 facets to that. One of them is, are we competitive for pay? And that is something that you can do a salary study on. I believe there's one in the process, and we can figure out if the city is competitive in pay. And the other side is, from a national perspective, applications for the police department are down like 60% over 5 years.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, how much does
Should be
the
one of the
national,
chill places.
how much does the national like dialogue about,
Mm-hmm.
defund the police and stuff?
Exactly.
How's it affecting a community like this where
It
typically we had
affects
crime?
every community because there's
I agree.
60% less people that want to take the badge. And I mean, I've realized that my sarcasm sometimes calls off hard. This is sarcastic. Why wouldn't you want to be a cop with everything going on right now? Like, seriously.
Yeah.
So the other side of that is integrate into the community. If you are no longer a figurehead or not as much of a figurehead, and you're more of part of the community, you're going to get more respect. And if you're in a job that you like, that pays you well enough, pretty well enough, I don't know, the salary study does that, and you're respected, you're probably going to stay there and you're going to enjoy it. So if I could do one thing, it would be figuring out, one, if there are places in the budget that we can get rid of redundancies and be able to pay the police more. Or, and this is a super unpopular opinion, maybe we don't roll back the millage rate and we use that excess to pay police and fire more. Is it worth $25 a year for the homeowner to be able to get quality police and firefighters?
Is that one of the things that's on the ballot is to roll back the millage rate?
It was already rolled back this year for various reasons with the budget, but not rolling it back would allow you to take that money and put it somewhere. So you can't fund ongoing programs out of cash reserves. You have to have a revenue source for it. So you either have to decrease an expense or increase your income somewhere. And so if you can't find the redundancy, you can't find something that goes away, you have to find new income. And with inflation, not rolling back the millage rate would constitute that because your property taxes go up.
Not living in Peachtree City, I did not know that. So
Yeah,
my
there you go.
business is here, but
Yeah. And so that is the big thing. Like you see people on our Facebook pages all the time. Oh, the cart paths aren't safe. We need more police there. Well, they're the safest area that the police patrol.
it's not safe because there's a different reason they're not safe.
Correct.
And I'm
correct.
not going there, but it's not because people are getting mugged and
But on a priority list of what the police are going to do, you're going to hit the cart paths last. So if we're down 6 officers now,
Right.
and you normally put 4 on the path, how many are you putting on the path?
yeah, well, I'd rather have them. There are a couple areas in town that I think I'd rather have them in.
Well, going back to your point about, adding to the salaries of police officers and firefighters, I don't think that there's many people, and I've actually seen not a survey, but a study, I guess it was, a poll. That's the word I was looking for. I was looking for the word poll, Darren. I found it. It was in there somewhere.
Good breakout stout, huh?
Yeah. Well, I'm so enamored by it. But I saw a poll that supports this. I think most people, even a lot of those that initially, because this was in that poll I looked at, a lot of people that even initially supported the defund the police rhetoric now are supporting that we should pay them more.
Refund the police, maybe?
Yeah, more funding for the police, more training, better pay. How do you, because, think about it. If you got a problem with the police, do you take money away and then lower salaries and bring on lower quality officers? Or do you increase the training and the resources and the pay and bring on better
Or the
people?
communication.
Right,
Maybe your
exactly.
problem is a communication error.
Sure.
Maybe it's not, but if there was a dialogue for you to communicate that directly to the police and they could communicate it back to you, or fire or EMS or whatever with public safety, why wouldn't you take that?
If somebody called me from our county and said, hey, we are looking to increase the safety of our community and we want to increase the salaries of our officers by 20% and blah, 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 and we're going to give this amount of training and we believe that we can impact safety by this amount. I just need you to write me a check right now for this amount. I'd say, who do I make it to?
So here's the really cool comparison. You're in real estate, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many mortgages close without homeowners insurance?
0.
Why?
Because
Mandatory.
Well, yeah, because it's mandatory, but because the bank is the one that actually buys a house and they need the security to know that if something happens to that structure, that they're going to be covered.
Their
Right.
asset is
So-
covered.
How many people pay into homeowner insurance and never make a claim?
Most.
Okay. So every single citizen pays in Peachtree City into police, fire, and EMS.
Mm-hmm.
When was the last time, well, neither of you live here, but let's just say that you lived here. When was the last time either of you called police?
It's been a long time.
Okay.
About a year ago.
Okay. Fire.
Well, you're calling on yourself.
Actually, I was calling on.
Not called on you. You called them.
I'm like,
The-
hey, I
the
need a ride
restraining
home.
orders.
Okay. Yeah. No. Hey, there you go.
Uber won't pick me up. I've
Uber won't pick you
exceeded my limits. I've been
But
cut off
it's-
by Uber. Will you come
It's
take me?
essentially
No.
community's insurance policy.
Exactly.
It is only there when you need it, and
But when you need it, you want it.
exactly you want it now, as
You want
fast
it-
as possible.
You want it big.
Yeah, you want it like 5 minutes
Big league.
ago. Yeah, bigly, massive. And so it's, again, one of those things that you don't know you need until you need it. And you've been paying into it, and then all of a sudden it's there, and you're like, thank you. Beyond thank you. There's an entire breakdown of what EMS responds to, of what fire responds to. And you look at those things, and you're like, okay, that was one, got a little out of control. Okay, it would have been fine. But then you look at some of the other ones, and it's like, what would have happened if they weren't there? What would have happened if they were paid less? That alarm goes off and they're like, yeah, I guess I'll get up. Or that alarm goes off and they're down and ready to go instantly. I mean, you can't pay for time. You can't get that back.
And they respond. I will say fire and rescue here and being at this intersection all day long, and you hear
they're
and
fast.
ripping,
Yeah.
and they come
I'm right next to you.
quick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you hear it too, but they are fast. At least it seems to be that way.
But how do you put a price on that? How do you know that you're going to need that public safety service until you need it? So if it comes down to it, if we don't roll back the millage rate and we pay $25, $30, my house would have been $30 more a year for taxes if we didn't roll the millage rate back. And that would have allowed a increase. I'm not saying that it needed to happen this year, but to put it into perspective, for $30, if you're living in this area, if that make or break your year.
Well, I'll tell you guys a little story. So I wouldn't be sitting here today if it wasn't for a police officer. When I was a teenager, I walked in on a home invasion in my house.
Whoa.
Yeah, true story. So I walked in on a home invasion, and I realized that somebody was in the house, and they didn't know I was there. So I slunk into the kitchen, called 911.
Wow.
And I did something, and all of a sudden they realized I was there. And I thought I was freaking out. I didn't know what was happening. I knew that somebody was in the house, but I didn't know the extent of it. So they heard me, and I heard a door slam, and I heard some yelling, and I'm like, oh my God, they're coming for me. Because they were coming into that other room that I was hiding in. And all of a sudden I heard the police sirens. And I mean, they came pulling up, and I could see out the window, the front window, they pulled up, tires smoking on the brakes. They came up so fast. And the perpetrators escaped out a back door and were gone. They didn't catch them. But what we found out when the police came in and started to search the house, they had taken all my dad's firearms.
Whoa.
And they had them stacked up, and they were stealing them. They stole some of them, but they had all my dad's gun. And my dad was a Marine, so all the guns were loaded. So they were sitting there with a pile of loaded weapons, and they knew that I was in the house.
That's insane.
And I am not shitting you. I felt like I picked up that phone and called 911, and I bet that police officer screeched those brakes in front of the house in 45 seconds. And I'm going to tell you right now, that's the most terrified I've ever been in my life. I literally thought I was going to die.
Why the hell did you call Domino's after you called 911?
Well, because I shit my pants, and it's out with the old and in with the new.
I don't know what I did
in
they
that
heard
moment.
me. Yeah.
Are you sitting there going, "Man, that $30 might have been worth it," or
Yeah.
"Whoa"?
And how old were you?
I was a teenager. I think I was 14.
Damn.
Wow. Yeah. So you remember that in vivid detail.
Oh, dude, it was so, and that was one of those moments when I had more respect for what a police officer does than anything else. Because this is the thing, you hear it, right? You hear that cops put their, and this dude came charging in, gun drawn, did with, what felt to me like no regard to his own safety. He was there to protect. He knew a child was in the house with a home invasion, and he was ready to die to protect me. Like, I almost feel like you have to go through that to have a true respect for what first responders
Or
will
have
do.
a family member or something like that. I have a cousin that's a cop, and I know him, his wife, their 4 or 5 year old, and I mean, I know it's a constant conversation between them, like, are you really going to be doing this undercover stuff again, kind of thing.
I mean, we just passed September 11th, and you watch all the tributes and you hear all the stories about the first responders, and it's police officers, firefighters, the whole deal, and you hear these stories, and it just gives you chills. The level at which people that elect to do those jobs will sacrifice for other
blatant
people.
disregard for their own safety. Yeah.
And so that's why I think, the dialogue for, defunding the police and all that kind of stuff, I think it's really dangerous because you may be the person that needs that one day.
Yeah,
and I hope you don't.
You want to defund it until you need it. And then you want to write the biggest check possible to get out of whatever situation you're
until
in.
You're that kid in the kitchen calling 911. Then it's like, maybe that gave me a lifelong respect for law enforcement. I don't know. Hopefully I would have had that respect anyways, but it's just, and I've had asshole cops pull me over and give me ridiculous tickets before.
But you were probably going too fast, right? Don't lie.
Well, let me tell you something. So here's a real story.
I mean, right? We know him.
No. I've gotten some bullshit tickets, but I've justified it because of all the stuff I've gotten away with. I guarantee you, there's times where I'm like,
I don't think that's supposed to be how it works.
Pulled over.
The ends justify the means. Is that
Ooh, it's a dangerous term.
Okay, next question for you. Out of everybody's platform, which, not on yours, so which one do you hope gets passed from somebody else's platform? And you're like, oh my gosh, I want to see something that may have been that they've been trying to pass, but it just hasn't yet, or some new idea from one of your constituents or something, or the mayor-elect or the mayor, and you're like, I really like that. I'm going to back that, and I'm going to give them 110% to get that put through.
That's a good idea.
It's a question, not an idea. But thank you.
No, I mean, it's a good idea to consider it. Thank you, Darren. So a lot of the topics in town are apolitical, right? So 5474, the fun one. Do you sit in traffic longer if you're Democrat or Republican? Sure. Don't answer that. Don't answer that. The answer is it doesn't matter.
God.
That's the point of the answer. Don't answer that.
So many jokes.
Don't answer that.
Come on.
Come on, don't go. So, I mean, that's a lot of the topics in town are apolitical.
Absolutely.
And
can I take that even further?
yeah, go for it. Please.
I think that most topics that people think are political, even the ones at a large national level, are apolitical. Perfect example, COVID-19. How the hell did COVID-19 become so politicized? It's a fucking virus.
It's the source of the information.
You know how you could tell the difference out there on 5474, though? Because the Republicans are in the right lane.
Oh, my gosh.
The Democrats are in the left lane.
You did
correct?
it.
So you know.
Congratulations.
You're actually on this podcast?
Can you? I know where that one is. The yeah. Thank you.
Who let him in here?
Then you have the independents in the turn lane with their signal going the opposite direction.
Because they really have no idea, no conviction. No, but in all seriousness, there's a lot. And COVID is the perfect example. Nobody wants to get sick.
It's the source of information.
Nobody wants people to die. Everybody wants the same thing. We all want it gone. We all want people to prosper. But yet, somehow, we've allowed people to politicize it. And I say we because we have to enable it as people.
You're right. Yeah, no, it's the source of information.
Right.
You've heard something you like from someone you identify with. You've heard something you dislike from someone you don't identify with. In a world where everything is equal, they're both speaking with the same amount of science backing.
Mm-hmm.
But you like one of them and you don't because you brought feelings into an area that should have facts.
Yeah, 100%. But, unfortunately, we're not going to change the source, but what we can change is how we receive it.
Correct. And I'll go back to Darren's question now because I know it's
Got
just
it.
eating him alive. It's not so much a platform point as it is a mindset. So Peachtree City, any local city, is going to be bombarded or completely attacked by different groups, whether it's a developer, different governments, different entities, whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't get onto council, I would like to see someone that will be aggressive enough to go to bat for the city, to know that they represent Peachtree City. If something is a good idea for 90% of the population outside of the town and 10% inside of the town, that's not who you represent. You need someone that's going to say no. You need someone that's really going to say no. And so anyone that wants to stand up and defend this town from changing, that's who I want.
One of the topics that's been brought up over the years that I've heard is, and you're in that age group, right? Although you said you came back because you eventually want to raise a family.
Discriminating based on my age, Darren.
No, it's not discrimination.
checking.
If you want to discriminate on somebody's age, just
how
look
do
at that
you?
guy.
I mean,
Dude,
how
I'm going to be
does-
more gray than he is sooner. Anyway, sorry.
How does I've seen your dad? You're going
I
to be
know.
completely white. I mean, at least I've got.
He's
nice
not white, he's gray.
platinum. This is platinum.
He's not white, he's gray.
Just call
What
it
you
blonde.
hope for is your mom's hair color.
She's got awesome hair.
She does.
Yeah.
So
Back on topic.
anyway,
Focus, Darren.
younger generation such as yourself, 20s, 30s, even the ones who don't want to raise a family. What can we do to attract those people and keep them here?
In one word?
Yeah.
Fiber. So COVID, for all of the negatives, all of the killing of small businesses, missing out on funerals, weddings, loved ones, all of that, brought one really, really, really good thing. And that was the work from home revolution. It gave mothers and fathers who normally schlepped up to Atlanta or whatever your local office is an opportunity to be at home with their kids during the workday. You stop missing out on sporting events, on chorus concerts, on everything like that. And so we have in this country, in the world, I think, honestly, the work from home revolution. And if you, as a local community, as a state, as whatever, can capture that revolution, you're going to come out on top. So there are a lot of businesses that need a minimum break point in order to allow you to work from home. You need a minimum amount of downtime, like it has to be up 360 days out of the year. It can't have more than this much ping. You need, whatever speed. Mm-hmm. Peachtree City doesn't have that all over yet. But Atlanta is Google's test for Google Fiber.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we can harness both the work from home revolution and Google Fiber, we can go from a bedroom community to a work from your bedroom community. And then there's no reason not to live here and go play somewhere else, because now you live and you work here. And I don't know about everybody else, but in college, it was really great when there was a concert in my backyard. Now, if there is, I'm kind of that grumpy old man that's like, get off my lawn, dude. Like, turn it down. It's 9:30 on a Saturday. Like, come on.
You're that
So,
close to the Fred?
It's not the Fred. It's I like this. Let me clarify. I like being able to sit on my back porch and hear sunset sounds, but I'm just giving the example. I like being able to drive up to Atlanta. I like being able to drive to other city centers, downtowns.
Right.
I don't want the downtown in my backyard.
Sure.
And if you work and live because you can work from home, I think you can capture that work from home initiative. So if there's one thing that can do it, I think it's fiber. Ask me how to do that, and I'm going to tell you that I don't think I can do that as a citizen because I don't think I have the pull.
Right.
But there's infrastructure improvements that need to happen in Peachtree City.
Well, in the meantime, they can work at a really cool co-working office that can give them that bandwidth that they need.
You should see the size of the hamster on the wheel that powers launch and goes internet. It's amazing.
Did you just call Darren a hamster?
No, he can't run. He's got another hamster for that.
Right.
No, that makes sense because you're reversing it, and I like the way you just put that, because everybody says, well, how do you attract the younger generation? And they want to be able to go out, and we don't have the nightlife for them to keep them here, and they all want to move to Atlanta. And I like what you're saying. You're reversing it, and I do the same thing. It's like when I want that city vibe, I don't have a problem. I'll go up for a concert or go up for a sporting event or a show, a Broadway show or something, and I stay the night, and it's a night out on the town.
That's it.
And it's perfect.
And I'd like to leave the town where it was.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't have to drive 30, 45 minutes to work every day. So if you drive once, twice a month on the weekend for 30, 45 minutes,
no big deal.
I mean, you're making out with that one.
Getaway.
So I used to live on the north side of town and work in downtown. Right. Well, no, I'm going somewhere.
You lived on 400.
I lived up 400.
Like pre or post?
No, like on it.
Like how many years ago?
So from
Oh,
2012.
on it. So a little while ago. I just got that.
Yeah. So I lived there from 2012 to 2016.
It was,
Oh, okay.
And
yeah.
I was there pre and post the toll booth, which made it worse when they took the down.
The first
Took the
toll
damn thing
booth
down.
in history that was removed when the
In traffic got
fee
worse.
was
yeah.
like realized, because New Jersey had the toll booths up until they paid for it, and I don't know when they put them there, but they're still there. So
New York has them too,
Right.
on the interstate.
What
so.
politician was it said there's nothing more permanent than a temporary government program?
I don't.
I can't remember which one it was, but
no, I'm gonna have to look it up.
But
But anyway,
yeah, they
you were
actually-
going.
Here's where I was going with it. I worked 20 miles from my office. It would take me anywhere from an hour and 45 minutes to 3 hours to get home every single night. Going back to your point, it didn't matter. If I tried to leave at 5, it was at least 3 hours. So I'd have to wait because traffic was horrendous.
How much did you want to drive on the weekends?
0. And I'm a race car
Right.
driver.
Yeah, you're a driver,
So I'm like,
dude.
I love driving. I'd have
Yeah.
sports cars. I
Not
didn't want to sit in.
anymore.
I never got home before my kids went to bed, and I worked 20 miles away from my house. That is not quality of life. So I actually think the work from home revolution is a really good thing. Even if it's
I
not
agree.
even if it's not 5 days a week, maybe it's 1 or 2 days with your particular
your-
firm or whatever.
Even
That's
3.
great.
Your office days are Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You get 4-day weekends
Yes.
every weekend.
And that to me would motivate me to work even harder if I work for a big company. I don't, but I think it's a really big thing. And, I also think plug in Darren's business, Launch and Go, it gives the ability for people to pop into a co-working space, a satellite office,
Right.
and do their work, 2 minutes from their house, and then they're done and they go back home. What an upgrade
Well, I
on
have
your
companies
life.
who do that. I have companies who pay for their employees'
To be able to-
office or to
Yeah.
come here. And they know, like you said, 5-10 minutes, boom, they're at work. They're in a much better spirit when they come in.
Hell yeah.
They still have quality of life after
There's
the fact.
the biggest
It's-
complaint I hear from that. So I have a patient, and if he watches this, I'm going to get a text in about 10 minutes.
Or he can comment in
Or he can comment. So he sells health insurance, and he has an office up on the north side. He doesn't go there. His wife works for Chick-fil-A. Okay, so I've narrowed it down just a little bit, but we're Chick-fil-A
You know
central
who
here.
you are.
So if you know who you are, I better get a comment off of this one. But anyway, he's got 2 kids. And when work from home happened and there was no daycare, there was no nothing, I was like, hey, man, how's it going? He's like, wife and I are working in the same room and there's 2 kids in there constantly. We have 3 dogs. How do you think it's going? I'm like, so there's Launch and Go. What's Launch and Go? Is this a new spaceship? No, it's not a new spaceship. It's an area where you can go, and guess what? Your kids, your wife, your dogs, they're not invited. So you can get kind of a home away from home. You can get the my kids are home for the summer, I can't function here experience on what, month to month, right? Like you don't do long term.
month to month.
Yeah, it's
I don't
great.
do
So
anything
so
long,
really
yeah.
the biggest downside is putting up with Darren.
That's it. And
that's
you only
it.
have to put up with me.
And I mean,
Tuesday,
that
Wednesday,
could
Thursday.
be a
Exactly.
deal
I'm
breaker
only
for
here
some.
3 days a week. So if you time it right, you just work Mondays and Fridays out of here. You
And then
even
you
have
don't
to
deal with
me.
Darren.
Is that what I have to do?
So
Son of
you're
a gun.
capturing the last little bit of the work from home. You don't want to be on a meeting with the guy that could give you the biggest promotion.
Yeah.
And your 5-year-old walks in and goes,
No.
I just made a mess because my diaper wasn't on. What do you do? Do you go
Right.
clean that up? Do you say, do you sit there? Do you ignore your kid? No, you come here for that meeting so that
You
doesn't
definitely don't want
happen.
my
Did
5-year-old
he ever
walking in
show
on that
up?
meeting.
Here?
He did not.
He did not.
He did not. And I give him crap about it every time.
I'll tell you. I'll give you. Tell him if he wants to come in and try it for a day.
I gave him the day pass.
Good.
I'll give him
But he
another
still
one.
hasn't used
He
it.
still hasn't used it.
Son of a bitch.
I had somebody email me last night. They're like, in the fridge, there's sparkling water, but there's some Line Creek beer in there. Are we allowed to have that? Just asking. And I'm like,
Could create a referral program.
as long as it's not snapped up in the 6-pack, yeah, you can have it.
But what if you created a referral program? Like for
That'd be
each
awesome.
person that you got to come in and give a tour,
Yeah.
you got, I don't know, 3 of them. If they sign up for it, you get 2 6-packs.
Jeff, are you listening?
Uh-oh. I smell a promotion at
There we
Launch and Go.
Boom. There it is. So I like that. I like how you flip that. That's a great way to look at it. And could you guys do something about the schedule for the summer concert series? Could you make it spring and fall instead?
I think,
Why in the heat
and
of
I'm
the
I'm
freaking
beyond
summer?
speculating. Like I would give
Just
this 20% confidence in my answer. It has a lot to do with the people that work there. You get a lot of people that are working there.
Well,
that
most
are
bands do
off-
tour in the
and you're
summer.
off of
They
school.
play.
And the summertime for a lot of those bands is
Right.
so
I know. But
maybe
Georgia in the middle of the summer.
It's a
yeah.
little-
How about putting in some misters or some cooling or fans or something?
How
that just
about
move some
you
air?
go to the city
I will.
and you make a public comment, even though you don't live here,
They'll be like,
and
you, don't
you
live here."
say, would it be okay if you created a committee that looked at other different times to hold bands, and then you can get citizen input?
"Oh, we could do a winter concert series.
We can do a lot of things.
That would be so much fun."
I think it'd be a boon.
What was
honestly.
What was Ozzy's thing? Was it Blizzard of? What was his?
Blizzard of Oz.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he could be the headliner to kick it off. The winter concert series, Blizzard of Oz. With
I actually used to work with a guy.
we'll prop him up in front of the mic and hope he
He's
doesn't
still
fall.
making new
I
stuff,
know
man.
he is.
He's
doing great.
insane. He's making stuff with Post Malone.
I'll
Hey,
tell you,
I've
he's
got a
making better
friend-
music than
I got a friend I
somebody.
used to work with. He's the front man on a Black Sabbath cover band. So, if we want to make Blizzard of
There you go.
Oz happen,
No.
all I got to do
We-
is make a phone call.
Bring
that's
Steel
the thing.
Panther in for
You-
a show. It'll shut down.
I met, I'm not going
We
off on
can't
this
talk
tangent.
about
In
that.
Germany,
No,
I
no.
met people
Yeah.
that had to do with people that were Steel Panther. Anyway,
People are Googling Steel Panther. Do not play their music in front of your children, okay?
Please
do not
don't.
play their music in front of anybody but yourself.
Right.
Do
Anyway,
not play their music in
but
front
back
of
on that.
yourself.
Let's go back to that, though. But
You have a good idea, and you think something can come of it.
Mhm.
Other than telling me right now, who have you told?
Kim.
Okay.
So-
okay,
But-
well,
but-
there's
but
two
that's
people
the
around.
We
thing.
did
So
talk to the future, the mayor-elect.
The first step, it's not a mayor elect until they
I'm
win.
Just kidding.
It's not a council elect until they win. Anyway. You go tell people this, okay?
Yes.
I hate social media. Sorry, Facebook algorithm listening to this. I hate you. Okay.
I do
It
too.
is a social monstrosity. Everything that goes into it comes out toxic. But it is a fantastic way to reach a bunch of people. If you have a good idea,
Mhm.
go to the city, talk about it, then post about it on Facebook.
I live in
Post somewhere.
Right.
Talk to other people. I
live
know
in
you
the
don't live here.
No, I live in the neighboring town, so I still my business is here, and I enjoy the benefits
guess
of
that
Peachtree
counts.
City.
Mhm.
Okay, so I want this community to thrive and
Right. Okay.
be the way it is, and I like it that way. I love going to the Fred for a show. I love going to night markets down there. I like the things that happen here, and as a business owner, Jake's a business owner. He lives just outside the town
Right.
limits too. But we want to, how does our voice get heard besides just telling other people to
Show up. You still show up. You are not limited being a Peachtree City citizen. You can
So-
show up and speak.
we can speak?
Now you're going to show up and you're going to say, "Hi, I'm Darren Flanagan. I live just outside of the city limits down Rockaway
But
Road.
My business is here.
But my business is here and I use your blank amenity, the Fred. I
Mhm.
go to the Fred all the time. What would I have to do to get concerts outside of the summer when it's the summer in Georgia? Yeah, it's done at night, but it's still freaking hot,
Honest
man.
And miserable.
Hades.
Yeah.
So ask that. Good chance you get no answer during that because I think for legal reasons they tend not to answer during the public comment because
Sure.
you never know what could happen.
Wouldn't want it to.
But I bet someone comes down and talks to you after the fact and says, "Hey, thank you for standing up and speaking. Here's what I would do."
Sometimes that one comment at a public meeting like that is the catalyst that gets a council member or somebody involved to get the ball rolling because they needed somebody to bring it up and they didn't want to feel self-serving, right?
Or better yet, how do you know something's an issue if you don't know it's an issue?
Right. That's
You
exactly
just need
right.
it brought up.
Right.
You need someone to tell you that I care
That's
about
a good
this.
idea. I don't go to one myself, but yeah, I guess it would be. I don't know. Let's look into that. But I think the other part of this too is a lot of times for something like this, it's so obvious and so many people feel that way. There's probably somebody on the council right now that feels the same as you and wants somebody to bring it up so they can carry the water on it.
That would be good. It's like the uniformity
Mhm.
of the garage sale signs.
Thursday, September 16th at 6:30 is the next council meeting.
When?
Thursday.
Wait a
at
minute.
6:30.
Hold on. What the hell is
Thursday,
the
what?
uniformity of garage sale signs?
Same thing as like real estate signs in certain areas. So if you want to have a garage sale in Peachtree City, I don't know if you have to file.
I know what you're talking
but
about.
your
They have to
sign
be-
has to be this particular sign, this color.
There's a sign
It's-
ordinance for
Yeah,
it.
it's a sign ordinance for your garage sale.
Do you know how many, side note, do you know how many real estate signs I've lost breaking the rules? Lots.
Lots.
And I did it on purpose because I'm like, these signs cost me $5 a piece. So what? Somebody's going to come take them away.
Yeah, on that topic, my signs cost under $5 a pop, right? And I hand them out to people. They put them in where they think is an okay location.
And then
Spoiler, it's not always an okay location. Tim and Molly on code enforcement, I'm sorry. But to recover
I'm
them,
not.
to recover them, you pay $100. It's like I'm going to take the loss
I've probably
in a
got
lot of cases.
I've probably got like 150 signs somewhere that I could go.
Right. It's like, so I handed 2 signs out to a guy. Okay. He's like, oh, I live in this neighborhood. I'll put a sign there, but give me 2 because I can put it in another spot on my property. I'm like, okay, cool. 5 days later, I get a call. Hey, your sign's in a green belt. And we picked it up. Sorry. So I call up, John Smith over there in the spot. I go, hey, both your signs still there? No, man, someone took one of them. Okay. You don't own that property. That's the city property. You can't put it there.
Well, he learned something.
He did. I hope. But anyway, I see what you're saying.
That's good.
Yeah.
So you have aspirations from here, city council, and then what?
And then we see what happens in 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
So city council term is a 4-year term? or
Correct.
2 2-year terms?
No, 2 4-year terms.
2 4-year terms.
Right.
So after 4 years, you're testing the water.
Right. We see if we can stomach it. We see if Jillian is on board with it after 4 years. Because, stuff changes in 4 years.
Could have children by then.
If you decide
Oh,
to
yeah,
run for
children by
Senate,
then.
can I be in your posse?
State or
If you just
Hold on.
send-
Wait.
state
So,
or U.S.?
either at that. But I haven't found the document that says posse on it yet. So you're going to have to define that a little better.
Listen, just in your crew, man. That's all I need to be. If
Are you going to help me?
If
No,
I,
You need to
of
be
course I will.
an advisor.
Listen,
That's your job. It's called an advisor.
I need a
I
little
will-
more certainty from that statement before I say yes to
I'll
something like
block and
this.
tackle. I'll carry a firearm, be security, whatever. All I'm looking for, Phil, is if you get to that stage, shut up, Darren. All I'm looking for, if I can just get the little table scraps of the insider trading shit you get as a senator, I'm good. I'm set for life. Just want the table
Senators
scraps.
don't inside trade.
Yes, they do, and it's
They
totally
don't, they
legal.
don't do it. They just
Absolutely
hear about it.
No,
It's
no.
a 100% legal.
No, there's beyond open communication there. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, he's already a
That is
politician.
called-
Listen to him.
He's practicing
It's like
plausible
he's already been
deniability.
elected. It's amazing, folks.
I can plausibly deny this right off the bat. Boom, look at that.
Oh, man.
It depends on your.
Don't you just invest in GME and then stonks go up? Isn't that the thing?
It depends on what your definition of the word is.
Okay.
Okay.
That we'll talk about that one later.
So beyond that, I
Oh,
mean,
shit.
you're hoping for, obviously, we're hoping that you win your office, win your seat.
Right, yeah.
And
I mean, me
and
too.
Then I'd love to have you back on the show to,
Tell us
in
what
a
it's
little
like,
bit of
man.
time, see what it's
Yeah,
like.
a year later, do you still love it or do you regret everything?
But
Do
we're
you
going to have
consider yourself a
Jillian.
politician? Have you sold your soul yet?
Or a public servant. Come
just
on, man.
curious.
Like, there's two
You're a
sides to
public
that.
servant. But we're going to have your wife sitting next to you at that point
Ooh.
to get her
See,
opinion as well.
That's what we missed here. She could have been sitting there, not said anything the entire time, and then you've gotten every single person that listens to this to watch it just to see her facial
Wow,
expressions.
would have been awesome.
Looking at you like
We could have
what
even
the
like
fuck is
put
he
her up
talking
in the
about?
little corner.
Yeah,
with a
I would have
separate
said
camera.
something.
Jillian.
We could almost let her listen to this and film her first reaction, and you could get a whole replay of this thing.
Can you do that while you
That might
have her
actually go
put a
viral.
camera
Yeah, I'm
on
not
and
doing
we'll
that.
plug
I'll
it
bring her
in?
in here if you want to do that, and you can.
Duck.
Although you two
Duck and
you two
dodge.
kind of bicker, Darren. So
A
I'm not
great
sure.
time.
Right.
It's a beautiful bicker that we have.
It is. It truly is.
She can dish it out.
So,
as
so
good as she
maybe
takes
what
it,
happens
okay.
is like her and Jake sit next to each other, and you and I sit next to each other,
Thank you.
And
and
just
put
fire
you guys
'em off.
across the table, and Jake and I can run interference the next time. and-
Otherwise, my arm would be sore because she would just be like, wham, just hit me all night long.
That's nice.
Uh,
Well, it's Phil Crane for City Council, Peachtree City, and you're also a chiropractor and applied kinesiologist. That's a lot. Give me a break. I'm
chiropractic
drinking.
mouthful,
applied
Yeah, and I've got a
kinesiologist.
mouthful of freaking breakout stout. So give me
Yeah, it's pretty good.
some slack here.
The Festa-Bier is pretty good. I'm having flashbacks of Germany, and they're all good flashbacks.
So if somebody wants to support your campaign, they can go to voteforcrane.com.
They can go to my Facebook page, which is Phil Crane for City Council. I think it might actually be Peachtree City Council. There have been a couple name iterations on that as you get feedback and listen to people.
If you're listening to the podcast and not watching, there will be an actual link to both. I'll have a link to your website and to the Facebook
Cool.
page. I've got it. So
And according to Facebook, I'm fairly responsive to messages on that. If you call the number that's on there, I'm way more responsive because it takes a minute for Facebook to send me the message when you send it.
it has to filter it through the algorithm to make sure that it's going to piss somebody off enough to respond.
Exactly. So,
So, yeah.
I will answer all questions, but I don't guarantee that they're the answer that you want.
Sure.
Now,
And if somebody's interested in finding out about your chiropractic business, if they're in the market and they have they hurt
A little tweak in the low back area, yeah. So Sentinel, SENTINEL, PTC for Peachtree City, because that's where we're located, .com is our web address. You search Facebook for it as well. You'll see a picture of me on there. I'm sorry.
quick.
look for the Jeep with the green logo on the back.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I have it on the back of the Jeep.
So quick description, because probably some people are listening and they're like, what the hell is kinesiology? What is
Oh,
don't let
kinesiology to
Jake
30,000
do
foot
that
view,
for
and how does that work
So,
with chiropractic?
so I'm not even doing the 60-second elevator pitch on that one. So chiropractic works with the bones. So to a chiropractor, everyone is Jack Skeleton.
Mhm.
And there's nothing wrong with Halloween, best holiday ever. Anyway, moving on. Applied kinesiology treats everybody like a human being. So chiropractor works with the bones. Applied kinesiology works with everybody else. It takes the study of muscles, the knowledge of that, how they move, and it integrates it into an analysis and a treatment technique. So it takes chiropractic, in my opinion, to the nth degree.
It's funny. I went to this chiropractor once. I've had back problems my whole life, but I went to this chiropractor once, and I go in there and I got a little bit of back pain, and I walk out, my freaking neck's at like a 45-degree angle. And I'm like, oh my God, everything hurts so bad and I can't move. He adjusted me, but I think he fucked my muscles up so bad that they were all spasming, and I'm like tweaking out really bad.
I'm going to consider the source and decline to comment on that.
Right. And then what happened
There
when
was
you went and saw
there was no
Phil?
whiskey involved in this. No, there was actually. Never mind. What am I talking about?
What happened when you went and saw Phil?
Phil's the man, dude. I screwed my elbow up, and I'm like, oh, dude, it's my elbow, not my back. And he sat there and messed with me for like a couple of minutes. And I'm like, oh, well, shit. I didn't
Believe it or
realize.
not, there's a bone in your elbow too.
Son of a gun. Really? Is that what that thing is? I need to learn more about the skeletal system.
How many bones are
Clearly.
in the body, Jake?
206.
There you go.
How many are in the feet?
3.
23?
23.
I think it's 23. Now I got to remember. There's 35 joints in there. Now I can't remember the number after I asked that. That's terrible.
Well, you've had a couple fest beers, so
Yeah,
I got to
blame it on
support
the Line
local,
Creek.
man.
Lion Creek, I knew how many
awesome.
bones were in the feet until I drank this delicious breakout stout.
Yeah.
Now I have
Ever
no
wanted
idea.
to forget the information
forget
that you
where
knew
my feet are.
previously? Festa-Bier, German lager.
You drink a couple of breakout stouts and somebody's like, touch your feet. And you're like,
well, I will say you have a great practice over there.
yeah.
It is fantastic. And then the last question that I would like to ask you before we say toodaloos is, what's the maximum contribution or donation somebody can make to your campaign?
Well, I just learned this because Holly Smith, who is awesome and no longer employed in the same position, unfortunately, let us know. So $100 or less, I don't have to name you, but it can't be an anonymous donation. So I have to know your name, but I don't share your name. Over that, I share it. Now, the maximum contribution for a general election is $2,800. if we go into a runoff, I believe it ups at $1,500 per person. So that means Jake, you and your wife could each donate that amount because it's per person, not per household. Darren, anyway, so you and your wife, Jake, could each donate that.
Thanks, Darren. You contributed beer. I don't understand this. I can't use this for my campaign.
No, that's an in-kind donation, actually, so you have to put the dollar amount down for it.
It doesn't help the campaign, but it helps the candidate.
I don't know. If I gave it away, it might help the campaign.
Good point.
But I can't give it away for a vote. I'm not giving it away for a vote. You can't say that.
Oh, because I would totally vote for you if you gave me some beer.
You don't live in town.
That's true. I would still vote. You know what? I'd have Acorn bust me in so I could vote for you.
I am literally about to get an ethics complaint because of this. I'm waiting for it. I'm going to have someone call me up. Francis from Secretary of State is going to be like, are you trading beer for votes?
So on that note.
As long as you're not cruising that residential community with the sheep out front.
There are more than one ways to get an ethics violation.
So on that note, can I get you to say the Beer and Business Podcast is the #1 podcast on the interwebs? I'm Phil Crane, and I approve this message.
Next time you have me back.
After he gets elected, folks.
There we go. Phil, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, man, this has been
I've enjoyed it.
Very informative, too.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, man. We wish you all the luck. You definitely have our votes. I mean, you don't have our votes because Acorn's not bussing us in. I'm sorry. But you've got our support.
You don't live in town. No, you guys weren't anywhere near as weird and awkward as I was expecting, so thanks.
Anytime you want to, you know how we show our support? We allow our friend in Canada to put their Vote for Phil Crane banners outside of their business.
That's right.
Yes, if you would, personal plug, if you want to sign, please let me know. I will hand deliver it, and you can bombard me with any questions you want. I will even answer them about Darren, not Jake.
Yes, thank you for that. So, folks, if you live in Peachtree City, make sure that you support Phil Crane by voting on when's voting day?
November 2nd.
November 2nd. Mark your calendar. Go out and vote for Phil Crane for City Council because he's going to make the place awesome. And he is going to deliver 700 gigabit fiber to your house.
Please
You heard it here first. That wasn't a promise, or that was... Oh, I get it. That was something you were trying to do. Sorry, folks. He's going to try to get 700 gigabit to your house. Just kidding. Holly,
Let's
we're
manage
just
expectations.
screwing around here. We've kind of bumped up against the threshold of ethics, but we haven't crossed the line. So make sure you support Phil. Thanks for coming on the show, dude. It's been a lot of fun, man.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah. Hope we've inspired you to think about running for local government, or at least getting involved enough to know who you're voting for.
Right. It's not a spectator sport. You have to show up.
It's not. Folks, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
See ya.